the today's speaker, Mr. Hiren Kakkar. He is a CEO and the co-founder of Estate Modeler Vadodara. He did his Masters in MQPM, Masters in Quality and Productivity Management, in 2012 from the Sardar Patel University. He has a bachelor's degree in a BBA, having a specialization in marketing research from Sauras University. He has a more than 8 years of experience in industry, especially he has worked as a senior consultant entrepreneur. He has many professional qualification, expertise, and achievement. Like he is certified Lean Six Sigma Black Belt from the BMGI, certified internal auditor of ISO 9000, expertise on data analysis, Python, R, SPSS, Minitab, Excel, Power BI, Tableau, Six Sigma, Lean Six Sigma, 5S, Kaizen, TPM, TQM, and inventory optimization. He has a vast experience. Some of the key achievements I would like to say over here. He has trained more than 9,000 plus participants. Especially, he has imparted training on data analysis, R, Python, SPSS, Minitab, 5S, Six Sigma, Lean, TPM, Kaizen, Kanban, SMED, and teamwork, etc. He has successfully completed and improved 100 plus projects, 15 plus company. He has performed the audit on a quality management system, 50 plus uh, templates he has developed, customized templates and dashboard in Excel, 35 plus research project assisted to research projects for the statistical analysis, and 20 plus events attended, especially workshops, seminars, and conference. So this is a brief biodata, but it is a very rich biodata. And one of the best thing is that he is our own alma mater. He is also the alumni of the Sardar Patel University, Department of Statistics, and he is the product of the Masters in Quality and Productivity Management. So, without wasting much time, I would like to once again welcome Mr. Hiren Kakkar, CEO of Estate Modeler, on behalf of the Department of Statistics, on behalf of the Head Department of Statistics, faculties, and all the students of the department. So, thank you, Hiren, for accepting our invitation and to be a speaker for the today's talk without any hesitation. We always love such kind of students who are always ready to help their juniors. So now I would like to request Mr. Hiren Kakkar, please proceed with the introduction to machine learning talk. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for warm welcome. I hope I am audible.
Mr. Hiren Kakkar.
Am I audible, sir?
Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, Hiren.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Okay. So I think sir is not able to hear me. So I think he might be thinking.
Hello.
Yeah, I am able to listen. I am Jyoti.
Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I think it is
Hello.
audible.
I think his link is
Okay.
poor.
Yes, am I
Maybe.
audible?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen.
Are you there, Mr. Hiren?
Hello, Dharmesh.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Let me call him.
Khyati, am I audible to you? Khyati?
Yes,
Yes,
sir, you're audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay, so we are starting our session now. So I have informed sir that it is audible to everyone. Let me share my screen first of all. Okay, is my screen visible?
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you. Thank you for your confirmation. Few years back, I was visiting one of my client shop floor. At that time, I have noticed, there is one office there and there are 6, 7 people are sitting there. And there was no heading or no identification was given to that office. So, very curiously, I asked to the coordinator of that company that who are these people. So he told me that they are the people who are collecting data over here. So basically whatever in the shop floor they are performing activity and they are recording in the register, and some hard copy books are there. So basically these 6, 7 people are taking those hard copy details and they are entering into the Excel or some ERP which they are using. So I asked them to visit that. So I visited that particular location and I observed that they are making a data entry basically. So whatever registers are there, from that they are making the data entry. After that, few days in my next visit, I have got chance to attend their management meeting. So I was a part of that their management meeting. So at that time, entire meeting was done without those data. So they were not using those data at all, which were and which was entered by that 6, 7 people who is dedicated team. So they are collecting the data, they are storing the data, but they're not using their data in a meeting. So after that, that question came into my mind that why they are not using it. And but there is a huge gap basically. So people are spending huge amount of time, money, and energy behind collecting the data, but they're not using it for the decision making. And there was a gap that I observed a few years back. And by having that idea in my mind, we started this company called State Modeler. Because whether it is a process improvement or it may be research area or it may be a like improvement projects, they are dealing with the data. But if the data is not used in a correct manner with the right tools and technique, then it will not lead to any conclusion, and ultimately it is a wastage of time, money, and energy to collect that data. So by having that idea in mind, we started this company. Sir has already given my introduction, so I'll not repeat this again. Basically this company was started in 2019. Last year we started this company with 4 domains of services. So the first domain is of data science, where we are providing training and consultancy related to the machine learning, R, then Python, SPSS, Minitab, SAS, Tableau, Power BI. So under the umbrella of data science, whatever tools and techniques are there for that, we are providing training as well as consultancy. The second domain is related to the operational excellence, because majority of my time I spend during my career on the shop floor, for the improvement project using this concept. So that is the second domain where we are creating a blended approach. So in one company, in one department, there may be a requirement of Six Sigma. In another department of the same company, there is a requirement of Kanban. In another company, in another department, there might be a requirement of Kaizen. So we create a blended approach where all these techniques are covered, and in which department which needs to be used, how much time to be spent, everything we optimize and create a roadmap that is a blended roadmap, so that this business transformation can take a very less time, and it should give you the optimum result. The third domain where we are also sharing our expertise in the research projects. So basically it may be government sponsored research project, or it may be individual project, or it may be private project, or it may be survey analysis or market research analysis. So wherever they're collecting data and they want to prove some objectives, so in that case we are helping them to select right tools and techniques to analyze that data and prove their objective. And the fourth domain where we are working is we are collaborating with the universities and the colleges, where we are conducting workshop, training programs, certification courses for the faculty as well as students. These are some of the area where we have provided our services. So agroeconomics, dairy economics, this home science, mechanical engineering, pharmaceutical sciences, financial management, management study, marketing management, process industry, plastic process industry, chemical industry, diamond industry, and many more. So these are the area where either we have provided training or our consultancy services. If we talk about some of the activities that we did, so see, before this lockdown we used to conduct this classroom trainings and all. So this was basics of SPSS at BVM college, that is in the Vidyanagar. This is base SES program that we conducted at Department of Statistics, our department, right? And it is also in the same department we conducted basics of Python, and this was role of SPSS at DBU Nadiad. After that, we have provided training on R at different locations. So at Mumbai University, then this EERC, SP University, then this Anand Agriculture University. They're also in their market intelligence program. We have delivered talk on this R, and then HRDC Gujarat University. They conducted program for the faculties. So there also we provided training. These are some of the snaps. And during this lockdown, this much of trainings that we conducted online. So this is our 30th online training program. So in the April we conducted 2 programs. In May we conducted this 5, then 6, then 6, then 5, and then again 6. And they are on different topics. So you can see here 5 is 7QC tool, Advanced Excel, Google Form, then Kaizen, machine learning. So this one is the machine learning. Then Power BI, Python. So all these are different topics that I was talking about. So during this period we have conducted this much of training program. And if I introduce about our team, then I am Hiren Kakkar, and he is Mr. Mehul Gandhi. He used to be my classmate during this MQPM. So he is also a product of Department of Statistics, Sardar Patel University. Mr. Saurabh Chaudhary, you all might be knowing him. So he is also a product of Department of Statistics. He is also business associate with us. And Mr. Kapil Vanand, who is operating from UK, he is also my classmate during this MQPM, and he is also a product of Department of Statistics. So this is what our team is, and you can get connected with us by using this information. Now, we are on the social media platform, so I'll be sharing link with you in the chat box because we used to keep on these videos and events update on this our pages, so you may get update about our upcoming events. Now, today what we are going to talk about, so this is the basic outline of the things that we are going to cover. So first of all, we'll talk about the overview of machine learning, and then we'll talk about types of machine learning, where supervised machine learning is there, unsupervised machine learning is there, then reinforcement learning is there. So what is that and how it is working? Then once, let's say, machine learning model is developed, after that, how to evaluate that model. So there are several methods like train, test, split, and this k-fold method and all. So see, here we are going to just understand all this terminology, because within 1 year, this much of things in detail, it is not possible to explain, but we'll have overview and basic understanding of all these concepts. And what are the different metrics that we can use for the model evaluation? And after that, I'll be presenting one case study of machine learning where we have implemented 6-7 algorithms and found the optimum algorithm which is best suitable to that data. And at last, we'll have a question and answer session. So let us talk about the overview of machine learning first of all. So there are a few terminologies which is used, commonly used. So one is AI, that is artificial intelligence. Another one is ML, that is machine learning, and DL, that is deep learning. Now, how it is, correlated. So there is very high correlation between all these things. So basically, this artificial intelligence is a bigger circle, you can say, or a broad term that is there. Machine learning is a subset of AI, right? And this deep learning is also a subset of this AI and ML. So this is how this relationship is there. Now, what do we mean by that this artificial intelligence first? So basically, it programs with the ability to learn and reason like a human. So how we are analyzing the situation and reacting, right? So that is what humans are doing when they experience something. At that time, they analyze in the back end, and then based on its experience, they used to react. So similar things that we want to do with the machine, right? So basically, it is a front end kind of thing. So for example, this Siri is there, right? Then this what you can say, Alexa is there, right? So these are all examples of AI. the self-driving car of the Tesla. So that is also AI. But in the backend, what they are using. So that is what, as a user, we are experiencing. That Google Map is there. So smartly, it is capturing all our movement when we keep our location on. So that is what the user interface or user is feeling, or how the user is interacting with them. So that is AI, right? But in the backend, what they are using is, so they are using machine learning and deep learning as per the requirement. So what do we mean by the machine learning? So the machine learning is, basically provides the algorithm with the ability to learn without being explicitly programmed. So each and every time you don't need to program them. So let's say some data is collected, and then again you have to develop the algorithm, and then again you have to use that, and after some time again you have to you have got new data, and after that again you have to create an algorithm which is suitable to this data. So that is not the case here. Here one time you need to develop an algorithm, and then it learns by its own, right? So that is what this machine learning is. And after that, deep learning. Now deep learning is a subset of ML. So basically it deals with the neural network kind of thing. So ANN, CNN, this kind of algorithms are there. So that basically works in the backend for this deep learning. And basically, when you go for the deep learning, you need huge amount of data. So if I write some of the key differences of ML and DL, then in ML, let's say small data is required, but you can also handle the big large data. But here in DL, it doesn't work well with the small data. There you need large amount of data, right? Another thing is, like in machine learning, your computational cost or computational time is less compared to the DL, because here there is too many complexities are there in the data at that time we are using this DL. So these are some some of the key differences between this ML and DL. Now if I compare this AI, ML and DL with some layman example, then for example, as a human, our body or our body structure is nothing but your AI, right? So basically when we are interacting with each other, at that time, for example, I'm interacting right now with you. At that time, if my camera is on, then you'll be able to see me, not my mind, not my neurons, not my that neural network which is inbuilt. So you'll be able to see only my body, right? So that is the AI, which is interacting with the user. Now what is machine learning in that context? So it is your mind. So basically what reaction we have to give. So how how this hand, my hand is how it is getting and intimation or the alert. So from my mind, right? Now from like how this mind is getting input. So basically it is from the neural network which is inbuilt in the body, right? But whenever we are interacting, then it is this body part is only there, and then this mind is there, and all these are all these things are connected individually. If you look at it, then like what to do with this neural, what to do with this mind, what to do with this only body, right? So actually it is connected, all these things. So these are the terminology when we talk about this AI or ML. At that time, these terminologies are very highly used actually. So whenever you are reading any article, then you may find this kind of terminology, but this is how it all are correlated. Now if you look at the definition of machine learning, then a computer program is said to learn from experience E, right? So here the important is E with respect to some class of the task, that is T, and the performance measure as a P. And if its performance at the task T as measured by P improves with the experience E. So basically, if I summarize this definition, then based on the experience, we ask this machine to perform some task. Now during that task, they experience something. Now based on its experience, the performance will be measured. Now it start learning by its own experience, and then this performance will ultimately gets improved, right? So that is what we are expecting that machine to learn from that experience, right? And this definition was given by Tom Michel. So that is, very old definition. And this I was just reading some of the material. So this AI, the first time this term was coined in 1950. It is not a, current. No doubt it has, gained attention in this few years. Otherwise, it is a term which was coined first in 1950. So it is very old term, you can say. And this definition is also very old. I think it's 80s or 90s. So in that book, it is given. Now, if you look at the types of machine learning, then depending upon its applicability, the types are designed. So if you look the first type, then it is supervised machine learning. Now, what do we mean by the supervised machine learning? So that is, it refers to the working with a set of labeled training data. Now, what do we mean by the labeled training data? So you are all statistics students, so you'll be able to easily understand that. So whenever we are having some data set, in that data set, we are having some variables, right? So x1, x2, x3, x4. So these are all the variables are there. Now, along with this data set, if we are having this y, now y may be continuous. It may be, binary. It may have, some multiple categories, right? But y is given, right? So this is known as this y is known as a label, right? Or in this, terminology, it is also known as a target that we are aiming to predict, right? And all this, x1, x2, x3, that is in our case, in normal this statistical language, we used to call it this independent variable or explanatory variable. But here, when we talk in terms of machine learning, at that time we used to call it features, right? So features and target, that is the terminology which we are using, right? So that is what supervised learning is when this y is given. Now we are going to see what are the techniques that is used. Briefly, we are going to see that. After that, the second type is supervised learning, where there is no, y is given, all are x's, right? So their independent variables are there. Now, if I compare this with some of the well-known technique, then, PCA and principal component analysis or in factor analysis, we don't have such y, right? So mostly we have some x's, x1, x2, x3, and so on, right? For example, cluster analysis. So in that also we don't have, such y available, that we want to find out that this, particular group is belonging to which cluster. So these are all known as a unsupervised learning. So there is no, labeled data. There is no y is available. There is no labels are available. So that is unsupervised learning. Now there is a third type of learning that is called reinforcement learning. Now reinforcement learning is all about making decisions sequentially, as well as there is a theory of like reward and penalty. Now reward and penalty. You must have watched that movie called PK, right? So in PK, when this Amir Khan came to this world for the very first time, that at the time he was not aware about the things which is going around him. So by the experience, it is learning, right? So whenever वो कुछ ऐसा था ना कि कुछ गाजर खरीदने जाता है, तो उस टाइम पे वो कागज देता है पहले, तो फिर उसको बोलता है कि ये नहीं चलेगा. So he has learned that okay, this will not work. After that, what he has observed that okay, वो महात्मा गांधी की फोटो होगी तो चलेगा. ओके, सो वो क्या किया, दूसरी बार गया तो महात्मा गांधी की जितनी भी फोटो थी वो जाके उसने ट्राई की, तो फोटो पहले दी तो बोला ये फोटो नहीं चलेगी, बोला ये फोटो नहीं चलेगी. Likewise, he has tried and tried to learn like based on its experience. So it was rejected. So he has learned that okay, ये नहीं चलता है. Okay, and as soon as he has given a real money, he has got the carrots. So at that time, he has, learned one thing, that all this will not work, this only will work, right? So that is what reward and penalty. So in first cases, he was getting penalty. Basically, rejection is a penalty. So, okay, this will not work, right? So that is the penalty that he is getting. But as he has, presented that real money, at that time, it was accepted. That means he has got the reward as a carrot, right? So, this in reinforcement learning also it is the same kind of thing where we are creating an agent. Agent is nothing but an imaginary character, you can say, or imaginary what you can say, the machine itself is an agent, Now, when we put that agent into the environment in the sense the real life scenario. So at that time, we are putting him into that environment, and based on its experience, he try to learn. So, for example, this hello, okay Google, and then this Siri and Alexa. So when you start using it, at that time they are not much more acquainted with the way you speak. They're not acquainted with the way you work. They're acquainted with the your habits and all. But as you keep on using them, it tries to learn something about you. So okay, at this time you generally wake up, so automatically it will ask you that tomorrow shall I wake you up at this time. So that kind of thing, what it is doing, so basically it is learning by its own. Now there is no explicit program that is done for them, like if it is used by Hiren Kakkar, then accordingly it should be programmed. It is used by somebody else, then it is explicitly programmed for that person. It is not like that, right? Similarly, if I give you another example of this reinforcement learning, then you might have heard the game name called Mario. It's a very old game. I used to play a lot during my childhood. So at that time, whenever this Mario is playing in auto mode, at that time it reaches to the different level and then it gets out. So basically why this variation is there, so it is auto program. So basically when he hit to the let's say that frogs are there, or there's some the tree are there, at that time it is hitting with that. At that time it has got out, so it learns that okay, here we should not touch in this situation, otherwise we'll get out. After that at some place he is hitting his head and then he is getting an ice cream, right? So at that time he is getting promotion, or it is getting some points, some reward points. At that time, okay, he's feeling that okay, here this thing we should do and here this thing we should not do. So basically this reinforcement learning is highly used in gaming. So when we develop a gaming, so at that time this reinforcement learning is highly used. So these are types of machine learning, basically supervised learning, unsupervised learning, and reinforcement learning. These are the major types of learning. Now, if you look at the supervised learning, then what are the techniques which are available that we can use? So in that, one is a commonly used and highly used, that is regression. It may be linear regression, it may be polynomial regression. Then decision tree is one of the technique that is used in a supervised learning. Then random forest. So that is, you can say when, if you just focus on this two word, that is forest and tree, so they are correlated. So basically in a decision tree only one tree and this will be there, but whenever there are multiple trees, at that time it is known as a forest. So these are related theory, decision tree and the random forest. After that, classification. Now in classification there are so many techniques that we can use. K nearest neighbor, that is one of the techniques that we can use to classify. Now, what do we mean by this classification? So this, in regression, we have Y as a continuous, but in classification, our Y is categorical. That is the difference between this regression and classification. And this, decision tree and random forest, they are available for this regression also, and they are also available for the classification also, right? So it is in both the way. So one is KNN, that is K nearest neighbor for the classification. Another one is trees. Trees means this decision tree and random forest, both. Logistic regression, one of the well-known technique that we use. Naive-Bayes theorem. So that is also an algorithm which is available in this Python and all, so that we can use for the classification. So basically it is based on the Bayesian theorem. And support vector machine. So support vector machine is also one of the most efficient way to classify the objects. Now again, here for the SVM, it is also available for the classification, and it is also available for the regression, right? So these are the different algorithms which is very popularly used in supervised machine learning. Now, if we move ahead with our unsupervised learning, at that time, what are the tools and techniques that we are using? So the First technique is clustering analysis, in which there are different clustering algorithms are available. The first one is like principal component analysis. After that, k-means clustering, then hierarchical clustering, and there are many more. So there is density based clustering, and there are DB-scan that is known as. So there are several other clustering algorithms are also there, but that clustering algorithm is known as a unsupervised learning, because we don't have information about our why, and from here we are actually trying to find out the groups which is common in nature, right? And the second very sorry, here it is unsupervised learning actually. Yeah. So another method which is very popular in unsupervised learning is association analysis. So in that, a priori algorithm is there, and another one is frequent pattern growth. FP growth is another algorithm that is used over there. Now association means what? So basically it is something which is frequently happen together. So that kind of thing, it tries to identify from the data that we provide, and then they find that which are the things which are happening together. So basically it is helpful in the supermarket analysis, or superstore data, or some like in healthcare if we talk about, then some of the symptoms are there, along with that symptoms which are the other symptoms are there, right? So in that kind of analysis it will be used. Now if I give you one very most interesting example of this association is, about 15 years ago in Walmart, a sales guy made efforts to boost sales in his store. So his idea was very simple. He bundled the products together and applied some discount to the bundled products. So he has like if you buy this, then you'll get discount with this another product, or if you buy this 3 products, then you'll get such discount. So that kind of discount scheme he has applied. And for example, he has what he has done. So this guy bundled the bread with jam. So if you buy bread and jam together, then you'll get some discount, so that customer can easily found them together. So what he has done, so just near to the bread, he has made the location for the jam, and basically customer could afford to buy them together as the bundle product was discounted. In this way we can expect an increase in the revenue. So that was what theory he has applied. Now the finding where that men the men between, there are few men between the age of those men is 30 to 40 years in the age, and they're shopping between this 5 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Friday. Now you see, these are all the important information. So the gender is man, or the male you can say. Age is 30 to 40 years. This time is 5 to 7, and the day is Friday. Now they are generally purchase diapers along with the beers. Diapers for the children and the beer. So they are bought together by this category of people they are visiting in the store. Now that is very surprising actually, how it can happen. So they analyze the situation basically. Now in this US, the 5 days a week is there, right? So that is basically the last day of working, that is Friday. So when they are returning from their office, at that time their wife used to ask them to purchase a diaper for the children, right? And it is a weekend, so they also used to get beer along with that. So in that way, this beer and this diapers, they are having association between them in purchasing. So it is making a pattern, and that was revealed by this man. So what they did is, they basically changed the location of this beer. So they put this beer near to this diaper shelf. So where they are putting this diaper, just near to that, they are putting also beer. So it will be very easy for that man who are purchasing this together. That will be easy for them to grab that. And ultimately it has given the result that 35% increase in the sales of both that beer and the diaper. So this is how this association theory works. So basically it finds the pattern, and accordingly it will give you the insight that these are happen frequently, or together. Then you can follow its pattern. Now there are several other model evaluation approaches. So what are those approaches? So how to evaluate the model? Because here model evaluation become very critical, because if it is not evaluated properly and you just start using it, then it will misguide you. So one thing can be happen that you can you have, let's say, 1,000 observation, you develop a model on this, and again you test that model into on this 1,000 data points. So that is one way of evaluating the model. So that is train and test on the same data. Another thing is train and test split. That is very commonly used technique. So out of this, let's say 1,000 entry, we develop model on this 800 observation, and on 200 we are testing it. Here it is train, right? So that is another approach, which is most familiar approach, and it is better than this one. And the third approach is k-fold evaluation or k-fold method. So where basically we try to shuffle all possible ways, and then we try to optimize the model. So let us have a look at it, how it is working. So first, train and test on the same data set. So basically I'm having this data where this CO2 emission is there, that is my Y, and this engine size is my X. Now it is all about the vehicle. So CO2 emission, that means how this CO2 is emission by this vehicle, and then what is the engine size of that vehicle. So there is technically a relationship is expected that if the engine size is high, then CO2 emission will also be high. So this is actually called a train data set. There are 1,000 observations, but here we are just taking this 10 observations. So let's say this is our train data, right? Now we are building a model. That means we are creating that model for the prediction purpose. And now what we are doing, we are taking a few sample, let's say this 4 observation that we are taking as a test set, and then we are trying to test the model. So whatever these are the actual values and these are the predicted values, and then we are calculating the errors. So here it is the error that it is giving, right? So that is what we are evaluating. Now here the issue is that these 4 values are already used in training the model. So it may create a problem, or it will be out of sample adequacy, that kind of issue it will have. So that is not preferable, right? So many of the time what happens, so it is, let's say, our entire data, and here it is a training set, and we are testing on some of this data only, which is used in developing this model. Now whenever you are testing, so at that time sometime this test set is entire data set, or it may be a part of it, but it is from the data which is used in the training set. So that is not preferable, because this method will have high training accuracy. So it will whatever R square and then MAE and everything that you will be calculating, root mean square error and all. So it will have higher accuracy with this sample only. It will have low out sample accuracy. So for example, when you add some new observation which is not used in training the model, if you use that, then it will create a problem, and it will have the prediction accuracy issues. So that is what this method is. Now what do we mean by that out of sample adequacy or accuracy? So in that case, this this training accuracy is high. Training accuracy isn't necessarily good thing. So if I'm using that same data for training as well as testing, at the time I'm getting, let's say, R square or adjusted R square, it's 95%, then it is not always good, because it is use the same data which is I used to develop a model. Now it may create a result or the problem of overfitting, right? So that in the next slide we are going to see what is overfitting and underfitting and all. So model is overly trained to the data set, so which is used, it is trained for that only. It is specifically tailor-made, you can say, and which may capture a noise and produce a non-generalized model. So basically, if it is like, it is the problem like overfitting, at that time in general scenario you can't use that model. So that is the problem with this. Now what do we mean by the out of sample accuracy? So it's important to have high out of sample accuracy. That means if we are using some training and test set, both are different, and then also it is giving you the nearest value, at that time you can say it is a good model to use, right? So what is the way to do that? Train, test, split. That is the next method that we are going to see. Now overfitting and underfitting, let us try to understand that. So let's say if this is the situation, and I just try to present it in the form of the scatter plot. So this is a problem of underfitting, because see, it is actually making a curvilinear relationship, but you are fitting a straight line. That means majority of the points are away from this line. So it is a underfitting. This model is not properly fit. Now this one is, you can say it is a good fit, right? So here you can say whatever curvilinear relationship is there, it is identified. But if you overtrain your model on the same data, then how it will work? So it is something like that, you are overfitting the model. Now the problem with this model is it will only work on this data. If some from the real life scenario, some data if you insert into this model, then it will have the prediction accuracy issues. So better to have this kind of model, not this kind of, nor this kind of, right? So better to have this kind of model. Now the second method for the model evaluation is train test split. Now here you can see this is the same example I am taking ahead. Now here what I am doing is I am taking only this much of data for the training the model, right? So this is known as a train set. This is known as a test set, right? And these are the actual value. I am building the model using only this data, right? And then I'm predicting the value for this test set that I have designed. And now whatever value I am getting, right? So that will be my you can say the model accuracy values I'll be getting. This is the error term it is showing. So this is more reliable. Why? Because this model is trained on some other data and then it is tested on some other data. And if even though it is giving you this much of result, then you can say it is a reliable, and in general scenario also we can use. And this model will not have the issue of that out of sample accuracy or high training accuracy. That kind of issue will not be there. Now there is another method, like the life is not that much simple. So when I'm selecting this kind of, let's say I'm splitting this data randomly, I'm taking some from somewhere. At that time there may be chances of bias or some sampling error kind of thing. So at that time, if let's say it is taken from the end only, so it may have chances that only this observation will come, and this might not be available there at all. So this model will not be knowing those values. So to avoid that, what we can do, we can entirely shuffle this data, and instead of this one this test set, we can have multiple test set. How can we do that? By using a k-fold method. So let me show it to you. Let's say I'm having this data set. So here this many observations are there, and now let's say here this k means what? So that is the fold that we want. Fold means we are going to fold this data 4 times, right? So in the next upcoming this charts, I'll be using this 2 color, that is blue is for the training set and this orange one is for the test set. So what it will do, we have asked them to fold 4 times. So let's say this is 1 2 3 4, right? And here these are the data. So first what it has done, it has taken this first 20% data as a test set, and this is taken as a train set, and they develop a model. So model is developed by using this data, and then it was tested on this data, and then the accuracy was coming to 75%. So that is first fold's result. The same thing is done now with the second fold, but now this data will not be taken as a test data. Now this will be tested on some other data, that will be 20% from this. So now this model will be developed using this data and this data. So this is combinedly used, and this will be used for the testing purpose. And now you can see the accuracy is coming to 85%. The third fold, where it is taken, now it will not take this data or this data as a test set, and it will try to grab it from here. Now this model will be developed from this, and then it will be tested on this, and then it is giving you the result as a 80%. And the fourth fold, you can see the last remaining data was tested. So basically each and every point is used in training the model as well as testing the model with a proper shuffling, right? Now how to find out, now out of this 4 score, which is the best score, or which is the score that we should use? So basically we find the average model accuracy, by finding out the average, and that is coming to 79.5% accuracy of this particular model. So this is how we can use this k-fold cross validation. Obviously it is a little complex method because it requires logic to have these folds. Another thing is it requires a time, because you're when you are developing a one model, and here you have to develop 4 models, so it will require time. Also it will require computational expenses or computational efforts, so that is also required in this method, but it is more robust than 2 other that we have seen. So if it is you are dealing with some sensitive this data or sensitive problem, at that time you should use this k-fold cross validation instead of those 2 methods. Now there are different metrics that are there in the model evaluation. So for example, if we talk about this regression analysis, then it can be evaluated by this MAE, that is mean absolute error, or MSE, that is mean squared error, then root mean squared error, then this relative absolute error, RAE, RAC, relative squared error, R square. So these are the different metrics that we can use. Now what do we mean by this error? So if look at this data, it is quite obvious that you all might be knowing this. So let's say these gaps are nothing but the error. So this is the fitted line, these are this fitted line, and these are the actual observations. So the difference between the fitted point and the actual point, that is known as an error. So if error is minimum, so these are all the 5 are measure of error. So it should be less is better, and this alone, high is better, right? So this is how we should interpret our model. Now these are the formulas given for each of the metrics that I explained it to you. Yeah, you can download this by I'm providing a link to you. So let me paste that link in the chat box so that you can download this. Everyone is requested to download this presentation from the link which I provided in the chat box. So before I forget, I just started pasting this. So you can download it, just click on that, it will be automatically downloaded, this presentation. Just take 1 minute, and then we'll move ahead with our next thing is a case study that we are going to see. So only 1 minute, everyone please download this, and then we'll move ahead. I hope everyone has downloaded this, and now we are moving ahead. Now I would like to show you one case study. That is my client's case study, but I have removed the name, so nothing to worry about presenting in front of you. So basically this is used to develop a algorithm or the model which will be used for the profit prediction. So it is a data of Superstore. So retail Superstore of the US market is there, and there we have used machine learning algorithm for profit prediction. Now this is also one of the famous data set that you can get it from the Kaggle also. So computers are able to see, hear, and learn. So that is the future. So welcome to the future, right? So in this particular case study, what I'm going to show you, the objective of the research, methodology and project management, data collection, exploratory data analysis. This is one of the key part, very important part of this machine learning, because majority of the insights you'll get from this exploratory data analysis. After that, implementation of machine learning algorithms, model comparison, and then conclusion will be there. So the basically objective of this research was to find the features. Features means X's, which are playing significant roles in predicting profit for the organization. And the second is to find the optimum machine learning model for the prediction of the profit. So these are the two objectives where we started this project. And the methodology that we used is known as a CRISP DM, that is cross industry standard process for data mining. So that is the methodology for handling any data mining project or data science project. So initially, it starts with the business understanding. So where you just try to understand what is the problem, right? So here in this case, the problem was, or the requirement is to find an optimum model which can give you the prediction about your profit by providing certain values, like what is the sales quantity, then what is the region, what is the country, what is the customer gender, everything that you are providing as an input, and then you want to establish or predict the profit. So that is what the business understanding is there. And after that, you try to understand the data. So let us jump into the data world now, after understanding the business, and then we'll try to understand those data, like what point representing what thing, then how it is behaving. So all these things are there, and then we are trying to prepare the data. So basically, data preparation part is one of the critical part of any data science project. Basically, if 100% time is given for any data science project, out of that 80%, approximately 80% is time is spent in data preparation or data pre-processing. You might have heard this terminology, data pre-processing. Only 20% time is required for building a model or developing an algorithm that will be more suitable to you. But majority of the time is spent in this data preparation. So the third stage is data preparation, and then modeling is there. Now during this modeling, whatever you are finding, so during that there is ups and downs. That means here and there you are communicating with the steps. Here also, like after understanding the business scenario, you are trying to review the data. Now you are finding again some question. Then you'll again go back to the understanding of the business. Then again you come back to the data understanding. Then this process will be used like to and fro kind of thing. So that is why two-sided arrows are shown over here. Similarly, here also, like after data preparation, you're building a model, but it is not up to the mark. Then again, you go back to the data preparation. Then eliminate some of the variables, add some more information, and then again you build the model. And then again it will go to the data preparation. Then again it will come to the model, and then ultimately model evaluation will be there. And once it is evaluated, then this deployment will happen. Now this is one of the standard method or the standard model. That is CRISP DM model. So in this particular project, we have used this, and this is the steps that we followed with slightly minor modification as per the requirement. Now, source of data collection. So secondary data was used. So basically in data collection, there are mainly two sources: primary data collection, so which can be collected using this surveys or some taking some observation or some experiments. So all these things we can do, and then we collect the primary data, or we can conduct the interviews and that kind of thing. And the secondary data source, it may be from some data repository like Kaggle or UCI data set, then this journals, reports, then this newspaper, article, books, and there are many more sources where the secondary data are available. So here in this case, we have used secondary data, which is from the data repository. Now, if you look at the data, then it looks like this. So this row ID, then order ID, order date, shipment date, ship mode, customer ID, customer name, segment, country, city, state, then this postal code, region, product ID, category, subcategory, this product name, sales, quantity, discount, profit. Here, this is my Y. That is label. Now, whenever we are having a label, at that time it is a case of supervised machine learning. So now we want to check like how the this discount is behaving with the profit, how this quantity is behaving with this, how this sales is behaving with this, how this product category even behaving with this profit, how this subcategory is behaving with this, how this let's say segment, customer segment is behaving with this. So all these are mixture of data. So here categorical variables are also there, here numeric variables are also there. So that by using all this, we are going to make a machine learning algorithm. But before moving to the machine learning algorithm, we have to go for the exploratory data analysis, where we individually explore the variables So what we can do is, first step is like collect data and gather the domain knowledge, and then we'll check the measure of central tendency, measure of dispersion, that is variation, and lastly we'll perform some graphical analysis. So these are the basically steps to perform any EDA, that is exploratory data analysis. Now first we started with preparing a monthly trend chart for the quantitative variables. So sales was there, profit was there, then quantity and discount. These are all the numeric measurements. So for that we can have a trend chart, right? So here we can see there is no, in some of the cases here it is making a trend, here it is not making any trend, here it is slightly upward trend, here it is no trend. That kind of situation were observed. After that, histogram for the quantitative variables was also prepared to see its shape, center spread and shape of the data. So here you can see the profit is making this kind of pattern, which is having a high peak near to the 0 to the, let's say, 1500. That is the value where highest frequency is there. Here you can see this is having the right skew data, and that is quite obvious because it starts with the 0, because quantity cannot be less than 0, so it is starting with that. So that is why it is showing this kind of pattern. Here also with the sales, it is also same, because sales cannot be negative. Here profit can be negative, that means it is a loss, but here for the sales it cannot be there, so that is why it is making this kind of pattern. And here in the discount also, either it is 0 or on the higher side, so that is why it is making this kind of pattern. Now, if we look at the qualitative variables, that is categorical variable, then we can use pie chart or the bar chart. So you can see here this, shipment mode, then categories, then segment, the region, all these are there. For that we can make this qualitative pie chart we can make for this qualitative variable. After that, we have use box plot analysis. So our y is taken as a numeric variable and x is taken as a categorical variable. So in that combination, if we want to analyze, then we can use box plot. So here you can see the category versus profit, shipment mode versus profit, then segment versus profit, region versus profit. So all this we have done. Now here, one thing to observe is, like, it is having too many outliers, and that is why this box is not visible itself, right? So that is that needs your attention. You need to go into the detail of the data, and then you need to find out why it is so, and then you have to you can say remove those outliers and then go ahead with the model, right? So similarly, it is used for the sales. It's the same thing. So in the previous case we have taken a profit, here we have taken a sales, right? And then we have taken a quantity. So here you can see now in quantity there is no much of a extreme values or the outlier. So these boxes are visible, but still there are these outliers are there. But if you look at this graph, the median quantity is coming across the all this thing is same. So here you can see it is at 3, here also it is at 3, here also it is at 3, and here also it is at 3, and across all the categories. So, and the next thing is when we are having multiple numeric variable or quantitative variable. So in that case, what we can do, we can use a scatter plot. So here this profit is depend upon this quantity. Likewise, it is tried to understand then this profit versus sales, and then profit versus discount, and then it is graphically represented. We have also performed the correlation analysis for them. So you can see there is a correlation between this profit and sales. Then there is a, you can say, negative correlation with the discount with the profit, and that is obvious because if you give more discount, your profit will be reduced. So that kind of information is there, but profit has nothing to do with the you can say the quantity sold, right? So that is how we can analyze all this information, and then now it's time to go ahead with our machine learning implementation. Now here we have implemented almost 7 algorithms. So first is we have used this multiple linear regression, where we have used this sklearn library of the Python, and then we have implemented it, and we have got the R-square value as a 35%. Then polynomial regression, it is giving us a 81%. After that, decision tree algorithm, it is giving you this much of information. Then we have used this random forest. Then we have used support vector regression with all 4 kernels, because in support vector regression there are 4 kernel it is supporting, that is linear, RBF, that is radial basis function, and this polynomial kernel, and then sigmoid kernel. So that is also we have used, but it has not given us a good result. After that, we have compared all this output, and you can see here the polynomial is giving us a best result, because you can see R square, adjusted R square, MSC, MSC, mean square error, root mean square error, and mean absolute error. Comparatively, all the this higher is better, so it is highest among all these other models. These are lower is better, so it is lowest among all the other models. So you can see this in this particular data set, the polynomial regression is one of the best model or algorithm which can be used. So that is the conclusion, that whenever you want to predict the profit by using all these features, at that time you should use polynomial regression instead of other regressions, because it is giving you the highest accuracy in the prediction. So ultimately that was the conclusion that I had written over here. So all these parameters, that is model evaluation approaches that we have used, these are the metrics that we have used, and then polynomial regression is giving us the best results. So that is why we should go with that only. So this is how we can use this machine learning algorithm for any purpose. So here it was a regression case. Similarly, it can be a classification problem. One of our client is having problem related to the disease as a Y. So that is a label like disease presence or absent. So in that case, we can use classification algorithm. There also we have used logistic and KN and all this kind of algorithms, and we try to optimize all those things. So this is what the introduction to machine learning is there. Definitely this 1 hour or 1.5 hours is not sufficient to cover each and every aspect. And that is why we used to organize the training on all these topics. So on the Python, on R, on machine learning, that we are doing it over there. So one is the thing is like open house training, which is open for everyone. They can come and register. So that kind of training is there, and that we are posting on our Facebook page. So I'm also sharing the link for that, so you can like that page. So I have shared the link in the chat box, so you can visit that page. We keep on updating our training programs over there, and that is very low cost program that we usually conduct. And let's say if you want to cover if you want to get training specifically for you people, that is Department of Statistics, then if minimum 25 students are there, then we can plan training on this Python, or like we can start with the basics of Python and then machine learning, that kind of thing we can plan. So if it is so, then also you can just find out the interested candidate from your circle, and then let me know that how many are interested, and then we'll have a online classes like this along with the practices, because here in 1 hour the practice we cannot do that, right? So in that case, we'll do the practice and all the practical sessions will be there. So that is what from my side. Another thing I would like to also share with you is this recording we are going to upload on our YouTube channel. So I'm also sharing a link of our YouTube channel in the chat box. So you can subscribe to that channel, and you will be notified when we upload this video. So in case due to network connectivity or any other reason, if you miss something from this presentation, then you can refer to that video also. And some of the codes are also there in the presentation. So let's say if you are working in the same this thing, then you can use that, right? So thank you so much everyone for listening me patiently. And I really thank Department of Statistics, Sardar Patel University, for giving me this opportunity to present this introduction to machine learning amongst this students. So thank you so much everyone. Now if you are having any query, then please let me know. I can answer your queries.
Yes, students, do you have any questions, please?
So right now I don't have any query. So first we
Okay. Yeah, please. Hello.
Okay, in case let's say अभी के लिए कोई query नहीं है, then let's say later on if you go along and if you get any queries, then you can reach out to me. I have shared my presentation. In that, my contact details are there.
Hello,
Okay, sir. So much, sir.
I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yes.
Yes, sir. Our GS have some network issue, so I is behalf Department of Statistics and students की तरफ से I warmly thanks to our Kiran Kakkar sir to give us such a precious information and guide us. And even I thank to our HOD Jyoti ma'am and DPR sir and all teachers to arranging informative webinars. So
Yes. Thank you, Manish. But looking for the questions from the student side. We are very happy if one or two questions are there. Yeah, Hiren, can you see the chat box? Jyoti madam has wrote some
Okay.
comments because it is showing me in Hindi. तो यदि BIBD की तुलना के उपचार में प्रभाव की तुलना करने में किया जाता है तो इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट बिकॉज इट इज शोइंग मी ऑल थिंग्स इन हिंदी सो
Why it is in Hindi?
madam by default Chandni has made it Hindi something like that.
Okay. In your PC, okay.
Yes, it is in my PC.
It is bilingual.
Yes.
Yes, Hiren.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, from your lecture, I just happened to relate one type of design with the term reinforcement learning.
Right,
So
ma'am.
that's what I have put in the chat box.
Okay. So I'm just trying to
Our
read this.
MSc students, MSc statistics student would understand this because one of the seminar topic was this. So Khyati, see, this is the meaning of your topic.
Yes, ma'am.
So you should include this in your PPT or the seminar work which will be sharing with others.
Okay, ma'am.
Sure.
Okay, and Hiren, in fact, to the advanced learners, actually, if you go through this topic in a little bit, you can give it as an example of reinforcement learning.
Definitely, ma'am. I have copied that comment which you made. So I'll look into this, and next time onwards, like I can also use this to explain that reinforcement learning to the people.
And I wish that some students must have questions. Why you don't have questions?
Yeah, feel free to ask me the question. So many of your questions are also helpful to us क्योंकि शायद ऐसा हो सकता है कि आपके क्वेश्चन मुझे अभी पता ना हो, लेकिन वो मुझे भी एक डायरेक्शन में सोचने के लिए या लर्न करने के लिए वो मुझे प्रमोट करेंगे.
Am I audible, sir?
Yes, you are audible.
Sir, I just want to ask a question that you told about K-fold design or model.
Right.
Hello. Sir,
Yes.
that model, what was the difference between first 3 rows, second 3 rows, and likewise there was first 1, 2, 3, and 4 fold, correct?
Okay. Yes.
Then which type of model data was that?
Okay. So see, here what I try to explain is the concept. So let me tell you what is the difference between them. So see, here this information is given, like 10 observations are there. If we normally go on a train and test split, then we are doing like this. Let me just show it to you. So this is our, let's say, this train set, and this is our test set. Now many of the time it may have chances, then whatever randomization that we use to select those test cases, they might have some bias or some error. So what we can do, so in that case you can use this k-fold algorithm or k-fold method. What you can do is, so let's say the first combination where this, let's say 80% we are going to use for the train set, and then test set, that is 20%, right? So here in this case what I'll do, this 8 observations, so I'm putting a red mark that will be used for the train set. So randomly I'm selecting this much, this, and then this. Okay, and now other things that I'm putting a green, so that will be used for the, let's say one more is there, right? So let's say this will be used for the testing the model, right? So that is one set we have, one fold that we have made. Now there is a second fold in which now this observation 1, 5, 7 and 9, that will not be used as a test. Now whenever I'm doing a second fold, at that time what I'll be doing, so I'm using a blue color pen over there. So I'll be selecting, let's say this, and this, not this one but this one, right? So here in that case I'm using this 2, 3, 4 and then 8 number observation as a test set, and remaining all will be a training set. Now on the third fold, what I'll be doing, I'll not select 1, 5, 7, 9 and then 2, 3, 4 and 8. I'll be selecting remaining one, right? So in this way this entire data set will be folded. So now here we are asking for this 4 fold, so it will create this kind of 4 fold, and here in each of the fold it will create a model. So here it will take this 80% of the observation for the training, and this 20%, which are the 20%, so 1, 5 and 7 and 9, this will be used as a testing the model. So here we are getting, let's say 75%. Now here the data has been changed because this train data and test data has been changed. So now here accuracy will be different. So it may be let's at 80%. In some of the cases, let's say it may be 60%. So to avoid that randomization trap, we are using this k-fold method, where we are trying to accommodate each and every observation to be tested in either of this fold. So that is the purpose of k-fold method. Now here if you are asking for this this fold, so this is what I tried to show it graphically. Basically these are the data points. So this is observation 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and if you count this, so this is the entire data set. Out of that, in the first go we are selecting randomly something. Now to show graphically randomly some of the points, it is very difficult. So what I did is, so 20% of the data I have shown over here, otherwise it is taken randomly. So this is what k-fold cross validation is.
Sir, we can even get 85% accuracy at first fold also, right?
Yeah, there may be chances, yes.
Okay, that was my question. Like you said, first fold, second fold got 85% chance, third fold got 80%. Then what was the need of first and fourth fold? We can directly do second fold.
No, it is actually when you do fold, at that time it will be revealed that what is the accuracy of this model. And now here this pattern is not fixed, so you can get, let's say here in the first case you are getting 90% accuracy. In the second fold you may have a 60% of the accuracy, depending upon how you are shuffling all this observation. So when you conduct this, at that time only you'll be able to know that here in this fold we are getting this much, and here in this case we are getting this much. So that is why we are shuffling basically.
Okay, any more questions? Anyone? So
Hiren, what he wants to know is, can we stop
Hello.
at the second fold
Rupesh.
in this case?
Madam, if you practically see, you can stop over
Hello.
there. But
Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Hello.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yes, sir.
Madam, practically speaking, when we conduct this k-fold validation, at that
Okay.
time, this number of k,
So, if no
number of
questions, let us thank the speaker uh, for giving a wonderful lecture on the introduction to machine learning, starting the concept of artificial intelligence, machine learning, and the deep learning, and then how the exploratory data analysis is very important in the machine learning. Later on, he has discussed the case study of prediction in the supermarket based on the machine learning, and suggested the various methods, which method is more suitable to decide the accuracy level. So, Hiren, are you going to share any link for the certificate?
yes, sir, I'm going to share. I'm just sharing it.
Okay, so please share the link for the certificate, because we have keep the process in the way that a person who has attended the full length lectures, they are able to get the certificate provided they fill the following the link.
Okay.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Can I?
please, you may, yes, you may answer. Yes, please.
Okay. Okay, sir. Madam, practically when we implement this k-fold validation, at that time, at the initial stage, you are declaring that how many folds that you are going to do. So at that time, I'll go, let's say I'll select 4-fold or 6-fold or 10 folds, right? So once you decided that and you run the algorithm, it will, run all this fold and give you the result. Now it is not iterative process. In a backend, it is iterative process. But once you declare, then this algorithm will consider that tenfold. So 10 times he has to develop the model, and then it will do accordingly.
Yes. So I think Rupesh, you are satisfied. Okay.
Yes,
And who knows? For example, here I have got 85%.
Yeah.
Who knows? In the third fold, I'll be getting, let's say, 90%.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much, everyone. I'm sharing one link in the chat box. So that is a certification link. So let me share that. Okay. So I've again shared that link.
Okay, so who wish to get the certificate, they have to
by
fill up the link.
WhatsApp.
So I have shared one link that is Google Form link. Ideally, immediately you will get the certificate once you fill the form. But if you are not getting certificate within 1 hour, then just email us. We'll look into this and share the certificate.
Excuse me, sir. Sir, can you provide the link again?
For this certification link.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it is pasted by Dipesh Jaiswal.
Thank you, sir.
So once again, I am sharing a YouTube link because this recorded version will be available there. So if somebody has missed that, please subscribe that, and then you'll get the notification. So thank you so much, everyone. Now, we can close the session if everyone has filled the form.
Thank you so much, sir.
So,
Thank you.
so I hope everyone has filled up the link and immediately you may have received the certificate. So, madam, shall we close the session with your kind permission?
You are the controller.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. So, on behalf of the Department of Statistics, on behalf of the on behalf of the all the students and all the faculties, I may really thank Mr. Hiren Katkar, the CEO of the State Modeler, for sparing his valuable time and sharing the information of introduction to machine learning with our students. And we wish in future we are also going to have a same kind of the support from the State Modeler. Thank you very much.
Definitely, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you so
Thank you.
much.
So everyone have to one has to exit from the link. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Annyeong.